Hi, everyone. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods tracking these warm storms as we make our way through the weekend and even into early next week. Kind of nice to see this mid-January storm system lineup come through. It is January 16th, and so we're going to take you all the way almost to the end of the month with our cycle of storms coming on through. The first of which hitting us during our Tuesday afternoon, right during the evening commute. Now, this is, in fact, the heaviest rain that we're going to see from this particular system. What's really interesting about this one is how high that snow level has been. That's not to say that we won't get pockets of snow at the pass level, but for the most part, this is going to be a warmer storm with our snow level kind of fluctuating right around 8,000 feet or so, fluctuating down to about 6,500 feet periodically. But overall, in terms of what we usually see, this is going to be on the warmer side of things. To the north of us, though, it is quite an active weather pattern, an icy mix through parts of Oregon and Washington, creating really big travel headaches as well as dangerous conditions for folks that are living there. So we are on, again, the warmer sector of the storm coming on through. And it's just the first in a series that is going to be affecting us. In terms of total accumulation, we've already gotten close to about 1/4 of an inch in all. By tomorrow morning, we'll get close to about 3/10 of an inch to almost 1/2 an inch of rain through parts of the valley. And then as we head up through the foothills, that'll be a little bit higher in elevation. Pollock Pines with about 3/4 of an inch of rain, closer to about 1/2 an inch for Auburn and Grass Valley. But we'll see much higher totals by the time we get into the weekend and early next week. Snowfall is going to be really slim here, only about 1 to 5 inches of snow for the Tahoe Basin. South of Highway 50 with some higher elevations through the Central Sierra will really bank on the fact that this is a fairly decent storm in terms of total moisture content. And with those higher peaks, we'll be able to pull out more snow. So that'll be closer to about 6 to 8 inches of snow. Here's a look at how things will continue through tonight. And you can see for all intents and purposes, this is going to be winding down overnight. Even the snow for the Sierra starting to come to an end as well. A few very light sprinkles expected for the morning commute, and that'll be true for the foothills. But overall, nothing widespread or big accumulations continuing through tomorrow. Instead, we'll quickly turn our attention to areas of dense fog for the morning commute. We'll see that as well on Thursday. Otherwise, a mix of sun and clouds through the day. Friday, we'll start off with some patchy fog, and then we start to see successive systems coming in from the Pacific. It all gets going Friday afternoon, continuing into our weekend outlook. Now, snow line will be close to about 6,500 feet. Again, not a super cold storm for us. These are going to be, for us, on the warmer side. And you can see our snow level forecast is going to be close to pass level for our Tuesday and Wednesday. And then as we get into that Saturday, Sunday time frame, that's when we're going to start to see that snow line coming down ever so slightly. Not huge changes to that snow line, but overall, we are going to see periodically some snow down to lake level, meaning it's going to be a lot of changing conditions in the Sierra. Don't bank on everything being rain or snow consistently. It's going to be coming and going as we head into the weekend. Here's a look at how that Wednesday shapes up, and I just wanted to expand this view slightly so you can see that low starting to approach the coast by the time we get to Friday afternoon. Travel plans take you over to the coast. Just be aware it will be a rainy Friday evening commute, and then northbound on I-5 towards Redding, mostly a rain event, not a huge snow impact. Even towards Shasta, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag up there early in the game. We will get cold pockets of air coming through, and that's what's going to help to change that snow line periodically. During the day on Saturday, we'll see areas of snow and then a mix of rain and snow for the Sierra all the way through Yosemite. But again, we tend to have higher peaks there, and that helps to get the snow line and snow accumulation going a little bit higher. In all, Saturday through Tuesday, decent rainfall amounts with moderate impacts. We'll see moderate to heavy rain periodically, some minor, mostly nuisance flooding. So any of those storm drains that aren't completely clear from some leaves or just debris, those could tend to get a little impacted by that, as well as some minor flooding on the roadways and obviously some delays with travel. Possible change controls in the high country. 2 to 3 inches expected along that I-80 line from San Francisco to Sacramento, even northbound towards the central Sacramento Valley. Northern San Joaquin Valley, about 1.5 to 2 inches of rain. Again, this is a cumulative number here, not just one particular storm system. As we dig a little bit deeper into the foothills and the Sierra, you can see those numbers are going to go up. 3 to 4 inches for the mother lode south of Highway 50, 6 to 8 inches closer to Blue Canyon, which it will be an all-rain event for Blue Canyon, which is always a fun spot for all of the reporters and the local media to go up when it's snowing, because it's a great spot right at about 5,300 feet. But this time it's going to be rain. 12 to 18 inches of snow expected for the Tahoe Basin through the Sierra Nevada. Again, it's going to be mixed with rain as well. A little bit of that snow melting periodically, so we'll get the accumulations and then we'll get the rain on top of it, and some of that will be melting. When we take a look at the statewide precipitation, it's just awesome to see the variability in our climate here in one state. We've got Palm Springs with not even an inch of rain since the beginning of the water year, October 1st of last year, opposed to Eureka, which has almost 20 inches of rain along the coast. And then for the Tahoe Basin, we're at about 4.5 inches or so. And again, that's going to be a mixed bag of precipitation. Sacramento with over 6 inches and closing in on about 7 inches for San Francisco. Now, when we compare that to where we should be this time of year, you can see how the deficits have continued to grow. And the reason why I want to point this out is because we're kind of at that point in the year where we start going, and we usually have our biggest rainfall and snowfall in the month of January, and we're starting to see those deficits grow here. Eureka, we're almost at an inch above normal, and that's been largely because these weather systems have been impacting the Pacific Northwest through the northwest coast of California, more so than, say, the central and southern part of the state, which in an El Nino year like what we've been in typically isn't the case. Now, it's not a surefire bet that we're going to get a wetter than average Southern California, but in times past, that has been statistically how things have played out. When we look at our major water supply and our reservoir conditions, things are still looking really good. At this point in the season, it's going to be still flood control for the reservoirs, not so much water supply. We're still always concerned with water supply, so I don't want to discount that. But these are big flood control regions here where we're able to hold a bunch of water back so it doesn't impact the low-lying areas in the valley. At this point in the season, they are going to be a little bit lower, but they're still sitting generally above average because of the huge water year we had last year. When we look at the Sierra snow water equivalent, now what you're seeing with the contours here, that's going to be the snowpack that we have. If we're able to melt that down, how much water would we actually be able to get out of it? We're sitting at about 55% of average for the northern Sierra, close to that for the central Sierra, and then the southern Sierra just hasn't really benefited from much of the storm track this year, only at 32% of average to date. That puts our statewide average close to about 50%. Again, I wanted to point this out at this point in the season because I was just on with the Central Sierra Snow Lab, and Andrew Schwartz, who runs the lab up there, gave us a great breakdown. And when you look at the percent of average precipitation for this particular monitoring site, it's at Soda Springs, which is right along I-80, kind of close to Soda Springs Ski Resort as well as Boreal. We're close to 81% of average, but that's going to include rain and snow mix as falling in line with these warmer storms. So that makes sense, right? But when we just look at the snowfall to date, that's closer to about 59% of average. Snowpack's so critical for us because it's almost like this natural savings account where we can hold off on melting all that water into our reservoirs, and we can keep it for the drier months. So it kind of slowly meters off in the spring months and allows us to have a water supply into what will be periods of time where we don't have any precipitation at all, like literally nothing coming in. So this is really important for us to keep track of. January tends to be our snowiest month. The type of precipitation matters. If it's rain, it will just run off and move down the hill, whereas if it's snow, we're able to control that a little bit better, waiting for the drier and warmer months for that to meter out, and then we can hold it for when we really need it. It's a very controversial topic here in California. I will just say that, and I will tell you, we got a whole series called Water Wasted on our ABC 10 Plus streaming app. So it kind of dives into the controversy with that. We are nearing the end of the month, and so keeping track of how much is falling as rain opposed to snow is going to start to become a little bit more of a concern here, because by February and March, things start to wind down. That's not to say we can't get any precipitation coming through, because we've certainly seen decent snowfall come in February, and what we like to call, when we get big snowstorms coming through, miracle marches. We have by far seen many years where that happens. By April, May, that's when we start to talk about snow melt more than snowfall. We still have a couple of atmospheric rivers that we're going to be tracking, one of it which is hitting us for tonight and through tomorrow. A bit of a break Thursday into early Friday, and then we start to draw on more moisture. But what I want to draw your attention to is where that tap is coming from, and it does have a little bit of southern signature feeding into it once again, with the coldest part of that storm going generally to the north of us. And then it's just kind of an unsettled weather pattern brewing in the Pacific. Each one of these lines of moisture, this water vapor heading into California, which keeps us with an unsettled pattern, it looks like through early next Tuesday. Then what you'll notice is by the end of January, how that signature goes more up to the north of us, which has been mostly the pattern that we've seen this winter, where we were expecting with an El Nino year like what we have right now, that signature more so going in through Southern California. So it's kind of in the reverse of what we would usually expect. Now, the Climate Prediction Center is saying, hey, by the time you get to about the middle to end of January, it is likely going to be drier and likely warmer as well. And that will be all the way through almost the entire West Coast here. Likely warmer into the middle and end of January, where again we start to key into a few of those messages of, all right, where are we sitting for our snow water equivalent for how much water we'll be able to have through those dry months. We'll take a look at the bigger picture here. And again, this storm system rolling through right now, real icy mix, very dangerous condition all the way from Eugene to nearly Portland, and then up through parts of the Cascades, where they're expecting really big snow impacts from this first storm that is generally bringing us decent rain, but not the biggest impact storm for us. And then we get into our Friday forecast, and it starts off to be a wet weekend with periods of breaks in there. But we also have that 49ers game going on in San Francisco, technically the South Bay area towards San Jose on Saturday. Could be a little bit sloppy out there for the 49ers game, taking on, I believe it is Pittsburgh, if I'm right about that. So we're going to have showers continuing into our Tuesday, and then we start to see that storm track go to the north of us here with warmer conditions. So again, look at how when we have those warmer signatures in those storms, how much of that falls as rain. So even Seattle, Portland, and Medford, which are right now dealing with some of those icy conditions, will be back to more of a rain event. Highs for tomorrow for this year, warm to near 40, but the morning lows start off near 30. That's why we're really expecting to see a lot of changing conditions in this year, a kind of back and forth between rain and snow. 40s to near 50 to 55 degrees for the foothills, all rain event with this weather system coming in. 50s and 60s along the coast, and as we travel inland, we'll see highs in the 60s. A warmer weather pattern shaping up for us certainly over the next 5 days. Even on Friday, you can see how the mountains will be in the mid to upper 40s before we see those cooler conditions arrive Saturday into Sunday, but still well above the freezing mark, even for the Tahoe Basin. 50s for the foothills means we're going to see all rain with this next weather lineup here Friday through the weekend. Same for the coast. It's all rain, highs in the upper 50s. We do have a hydrologic outlook that is a little bit concerning for the Bay Area. Just want to make note of that, especially for Napa, Sonoma, parts of Monterey County. It's still a little too early to tell on how much we'll see rises on many of those creeks and streams, but the coastal communities could be a little bit more impacted by this lineup right here, Friday, Saturday, Sunday into early Monday, with the storms rolling in starting off Friday and lasting through early next week.